Hidden within modern London lies an ancient fortress of finance, the City of London, a 1 square mile district older than the British Empire itself. It is not merely a financial hub, it is a sovereign enclave with its own laws, flag, and police force. Long before Wall Street or Silicon Valley existed, this tiny patch of land ruled the trade winds of the world. When William the Conqueror invaded England in 1066, he didn't conquer the City of London, he made a pact with it. The city, already wealthy from trade and banking, was granted autonomy. For centuries, it answered not to kings, but to its own merchants. From this independence grew the DNA of modern capitalism. The Magna Carta may have freed men, but the City of London's charters freed money. The merchants of the city gained rights no ruler could revoke: the right to mint, to tax, and to loan. These privileges turned London's guilds into an invisible monarchy of gold. In the 1600s, as England's wars drained the treasury, goldsmiths became the new bankers. They issued paper receipts for gold deposits, the birth of banknotes in smoky chambers beneath the city's streets. A silent revolution began. Power shifted from kings to creditors. In 1694, the City of London's merchants created a private corporation, the Bank of England. It was not a royal institution, but a banker's one. It lent money to the crown at interest, binding monarchs to the financial system they no longer controlled. The city discovered its greatest weapon was debt. Ships, soldiers, and colonies were no longer funded by kings but by bonds, tradable instruments of empire. The British East India Company became the prototype of the corporate empire, governed not by nations but by shareholders. While monarchs wore crowns, the city wore anonymity. The Lord Mayor of London walked beside kings but answered to the merchants. To this day, the monarch bows before him at the city's gates, a ritual acknowledging the true seat of financial sovereignty. By the 18th century, British wars and conquests were bankrolled by the city. It funded Napoleon's defeat, controlled colonial trade, and ensured every voyage from India to Africa. Money had replaced armies, and the city had become an empire in all but name. The city's power was hidden behind stone facades. The Bank, the Royal Exchange, Lloyd's of London. They were cathedrals of money, each echoing with the prayers of profit. From these halls, fortunes were made and nations indebted. By 1800, London was not just Britain's capital, it was the beating heart of global trade. Empires rose and fell, but all roads led back to that single square mile. The city had become the world's invisible empire, an empire built not on land, but on leverage. By the dawn of the 19th century, the City of London's influence had outgrown its walls. Its merchants and financiers now commanded an empire so vast, it spanned the world: India, Africa, the Caribbean, and beyond. From the counting houses of Lombard Street, trade routes were charted, currencies fixed, and profits forecast like the movements of the stars. Gold was the language of empire. Every port, every colony, every ship's cargo was priced in pounds sterling, a currency that became the backbone of world trade. But it wasn't Britain's government that made this possible, it was the city's banks, creating trust, credit, and control. The East India Company was not merely a trading firm, it was a corporation with its own army, navy, and diplomats. It conquered lands, minted coins, and signed treaties. Behind its sails stood the financiers of the city, who turned spice and silk into stock dividends. While Britain's moral voice condemned slavery, its financiers thrived on it. The sugar plantations of the Caribbean, insured by Lloyd's, financed by Citibanks, were the dark engines of the empire's wealth. Every pound of sugar refined in London carried the ghost of human suffering. The Napoleonic Wars cemented the city's supremacy. While Europe bled, London lent. Bonds sold and the city financed armies, fleets, and weapons. Britain won the war, but more importantly, the bankers won the peace. They had discovered the true weapon of empire: debt. No name captures the city's 19th century dominance like Rothschild. From London, Nathan Meyer Rothschild built an international network that could move money faster than armies. When Wellington defeated Napoleon at Waterloo, Rothschild knew first and used that knowledge to conquer the markets. After Waterloo, Britain entered an age of peace enforced not by guns, but by gold. The Pax Britannica was financed from the City of London, where interest rates, shipping, insurance, and trade bills ruled the world. Every colony was a cog in a financial machine that never slept. In 1866, the first transatlantic cable was laid, linking London to New York. It wasn't built for diplomacy or love letters. It was built for finance. With a single message, gold prices could change empires. The world had become the city's trading floor. By the late 1800s, the city's real empire wasn't British colonies, it was foreign debt. From Buenos Aires to Bombay, nations borrowed from London's banks, pledging railroads, ports, and natural resources as collateral. Independence was an illusion. Finance had replaced flags. By the turn of the 20th century, the City of London controlled half the planet's capital. It didn't need armies, its weapons were contracts, its soldiers were bankers, and its empire was invisible. The British Empire may have ruled the seas, but the city ruled the world. At the dawn of the 20th century, the City of London stood at the height of its power. Its bonds financed the world's industries, and the pound sterling was the blood of global trade. But beneath the glittering surface, the old empire was cracking. Competition, nationalism, and ambition brewed a storm that would change the world forever. When World War I erupted, the city of London did not fall silent. It went to work. Bankers arranged loans, governments issued war bonds, and insurance firms underwrote destruction. For every gun fired, someone collected interest. Even as men died in trenches, the ledgers in London grew fat with numbers. War drained Europe's gold reserves, shattering the old standard that once anchored the world. Credit became the new gold, and those who issued it became the new masters. The city adapted instantly, creating a world where promises, not precious metals, defined power. The Great War ended not with victory, but exhaustion. The Russian, Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian, and German empires collapsed, and yet the city of London endured. When thrones fell and borders changed, debts remained. Nations may rise and fall, but their obligations to their creditors do not. As Europe bled, a new power emerged, the United States. Its gold reserves swelled while London's shrank, but the city adapted once again, weaving itself into Wall Street. British bankers and American financiers became partners in profit, ensuring that even as the empire's flag faded, its financial influence remained. The 1920s glittered with wealth and excess. Stocks soared, cities glowed, and everyone believed the age of war was over. But behind the illusion, the debt from World War I had never been paid. The City of London and its allies quietly tightened their grip through loans, reparations, and interest, the invisible tax of the modern age. In 1929, the illusion shattered. Markets crashed, fortunes vanished, and empires trembled. But for those who understood money, those in the city, chaos was opportunity. As nations defaulted, their assets and sovereignty quietly changed hands. The invisible empire expanded amid ruin. World War II was more than a battle for territory. It was a battle for economic order. Once again, the City of London financed both defense and reconstruction. As bombs fell, vaults were moved underground, and loans were issued in the dark. Out of the rubble would rise a new kind of empire, one ruled by institutions, not armies. In 1944, as war raged, the world's leaders gathered in a quiet New Hampshire hotel. The Bretton Woods Agreement created a new global system with the US dollar as its anchor, but behind the American symbol stood the same old network, the City of London, advising, investing, and controlling the flow of post-war wealth. By 1945, the British Empire was gone, but the city remained, rebranded, repositioned, reborn. It no longer needed colonies. Its reach now spanned through credit, corporations, and capital markets. The age of territorial empires was over. The age of financial empires had begun. After World War II, Britain's empire lay in ruins. India was free, Africa was breaking away. The colonies were gone. But in the quiet offices of the City of London, a new plan was forming, an empire not of territory but of transactions. Britain may have lost the world, but the city would own it in another way. In the 1950s, the world stumbled upon a strange financial loophole. US dollars held in European banks beyond American law became Eurodollars. The City of London quickly saw the opportunity. It turned this unregulated money into a new global market, invisible, untaxed, unstoppable. To expand its reach, the city built a hidden empire of offshore havens: Jersey, Guernsey, the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, the British Virgin Islands. Each was a fragment of the old empire reborn as a legal ghost, loyal to London, invisible to the world. Together they became the spider's web that ensnared global wealth. Each offshore territory operated under a unique form of law, neither fully British nor entirely independent. This duality gave the city what it craved most: deniability. Money could move, vanish, and reappear without trace. The city had discovered how to hide in plain sight. By the 1960s, secrecy had become the new weapon of empire. Banks no longer stored gold, they stored silence. Numbered accounts, shell companies, and trust funds became the new armory of power. The City of London became the fortress of this silent war, the world's capital of confidential wealth. The US could have stopped the offshore system, but it didn't. Instead, Wall Street joined hands with the City of London. Together they created the transatlantic twin engine of global finance. The city offered secrecy and reach. America offered power and protection. The dollar ruled the world, but London held the keys. In the 1970s, when oil prices exploded, the city's bankers rushed to recycle the wealth of oil states. Billions of petrodollars flowed into London's offshore accounts. The energy of the world was being turned into credit, debt, and control. Every barrel sold was another link in the city's invisible chain. As the decades rolled on, the city pushed for freedom, not for people, but for capital. Deregulation became the mantra. In 1986, London's Big Bang tore down financial barriers, inviting computers, hedge funds, and global banks to play without limits. The empire had gone digital. By the 1990s, the City of London was invisible again, hidden behind corporations, offshore accounts, and complex derivatives. It no longer needed to rule nations. It ruled the balance sheets of multinational giants. The old map of empire had vanished, replaced by networks of finance stretching beyond law or democracy. By the end of the 20th century, the city had achieved what no king, army, or nation could. It had created an empire without borders, armies, or flags. The square mile in London was now the command center of a financial system spanning every continent. Power had become invisible, and invisibility was power itself. The 21st century dawned not with the clang of industry, but the hum of servers. Factories moved east. Production went global, but finance stayed in London. The city adapted, it became digital. Money no longer flowed through banks but through code, trading platforms, and algorithms. Yet behind it all, the same ancient square mile still pulled the strings. The quills and ledgers of old had become lines of code. High-frequency traders replaced clerks. Algorithms replaced judgment. Decisions once made in mahogany halls were now made in microseconds. The human touch vanished, but the greed, the strategy, the empire's rhythm remained the same. Globalization was the city's finest masterpiece. It sold the idea of free markets while building a system only it could truly navigate. London became the mediator between the world's money. Chinese investors, Arab oil, American corporations all met in the same place. The city had once again made itself indispensable. Then, in 2008, the machine broke. Banks collapsed. Markets froze. People lost homes, jobs, and hope. Yet the City of London, the heart of this global web, survived. Governments bailed out the banks. The empire of finance was declared too big to fail. The lesson was clear. Even in collapse, power protected itself. After the crisis, debt became the new currency of control. Nations borrowed to survive. Companies borrowed to expand. Individuals borrowed to live. The city, the world's grand creditor, now owned more through debt than it ever did through colonies. Each loan was a silent chain, soft, invisible, and binding. As the world went digital, so did secrecy. Offshore accounts became encrypted networks. Shell companies turned into digital fronts. Data replaced gold as the most valuable resource. And who controlled this new commodity? The same shadowed institutions, the banks, the funds, the city. It had mastered a new invisibility, algorithmic power. Old islands like Bermuda and the Caymans were joined by new digital havens. Luxembourg, Singapore, Ireland. The game was the same, only faster. Trillions now moved through legal black holes each year. The city no longer needed to hide gold in vaults. It hid numbers in cyberspace. Tech giants, Apple, Google, Amazon became modern empires, but their crowns rested in London's offshore network. Billions in profits flowed through subsidiaries, trusts, and legal tricks. The city provided the invisible architecture for corporate dominance, proving once again it ruled not by law, but by loophole. When the world locked down, markets didn't die, they soared. Central banks printed money, the wealthy multiplied their fortunes. The City of London thrived amid chaos. Crisis was no longer danger, it was opportunity. Every collapse was now a harvest. And so, the City of London remains no longer an empire of flags or colonies, but an algorithmic monarchy. Its subjects are nations in debt, corporations in profit, and citizens unaware. The crown it wears is invisible, but its influence shines brighter than ever. The city doesn't rule the world by decree, it rules it by design. The British Empire may have lost its colonies, but it never lost its crown. The City of London remains its beating heart, a kingdom without borders, ruled not by monarchs but by markets. Its power does not rest on soldiers or fleets, but on balance sheets and credit flows. The throne is invisible, yet every nation kneels before it. Few realize that the City of London is not truly part of London. It is a separate legal entity with its own mayor, laws, and ancient privileges. Even the Queen, when she entered its boundaries, needed permission from the Lord Mayor. This square mile is a relic of medieval autonomy now reborn. As the most powerful financial enclave on earth, from the Cayman Islands to Hong Kong, from Jersey to Singapore, the city's network stretches like a web across the globe. Each outpost is a node of secrecy and control, channeling wealth through invisible pipelines. It is not one city. It is a system of cities, bound by money, shielded by law, and hidden in plain sight. Once, titles of nobility came from kings. Now, they come from capital. The bankers, hedge fund managers, and CEOs of the city are the new aristocracy. They own yachts instead of castles, control data instead of land, and their influence reaches presidents, parliaments, and public opinion. Money, not bloodline, defines the new elite. Elected officials come and go. The city remains. It influences policy through donations, lobbying, and quiet threats of capital flight. When governments challenge its authority, markets rebel. In truth, democracy dances to the rhythm of the city's invisible drums, its power silent, yet absolute. The empire survives not only through control but through illusion. The city funds think tanks, sponsors universities, and owns media shares that shape the narrative. It presents itself as the guardian of prosperity, the necessary heart of capitalism. But behind this mirage lies the same goal as ever: control of wealth, control of nations. In the age of cyber warfare, the city has fortified itself not with walls but with encryption. Its power is protected by code, servers, and surveillance. Financial data is the new treasure, guarded by algorithms sharper than any sword. It is an empire made of numbers, untouchable, unstoppable, eternal. Colonies once paid tribute in gold. Now nations pay interest in dollars. The city lends money to both sides of wars, funds governments and rebels alike, and profits from both. Debt is the modern tribute, and default is the new rebellion. The empire of finance feeds on perpetual instability. Chaos is its most profitable commodity. Today, the city looks to the future: blockchain, crypto, artificial intelligence. Yet these are not threats to its power. They are the next tools. Every revolution in finance from gold to code has been absorbed, reshaped, and ruled by the city. The future empire will not need soldiers or even bankers. It will rule through data itself. Empires rise, empires fall, but the empire of money endures. The City of London stands as its capital, eternal, adaptive, unseen. It has no army, yet commands nations, no crown, yet crowns kings. Its flag is profit, its faith is debt, its language is interest. The City of London did not fall with the British Empire. It simply became the world.